I'm just going to cut it there because I can do that. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. It has been an interesting start to what I hope to be a very eventful... Why are you up there? Okay, just so you understand, I shot a little bit of behind the scenes, and I'll be publishing that later on the YouTube channel. And it has been an interesting setup because generally you don't set up 15 cameras and an entirely new 2.5 gigabit network just to do a live show. And but that's what you get when you watch StreamTek. That is the router over there. My name is Anthony Brokus. Welcome to today's show. I'm the chief gearhead here at StreamTek. And despite all that, Restream decided to forget where the audio was coming from. That's why we had no audio coming in at the very beginning. And then when I went to edit the timer, it stopped the music playback. So all kinds of crazy things going on. And now I look over and one of the cameras is aimed up at the ceiling. Like, why? Why are you aimed up at the ceiling? I didn't tell it to go up there. I have it over here on a laptop, and I'm just going to pan it back to me. There we go. I don't even know how it would go up there. Which camera is that? Where is that one? I don't even know where that one is. It should be connected to the Director Plus. So today is a very interesting show because, like we were saying, it is going to be Director versus Extreme. The Director Plus, I should say. I should have put a little plus here. Director Plus versus Extreme. Which one do you think is going to win? That's my question to you. Which one do you think is going to win? Put it in the comments. Also, put in the comments any streaming questions you have. And put in the comments where you're watching from. And thank you to all of you who put in the comments that there was no audio. I love the fact that these are interactive shows. You are here. I am here. We are both here. So that gives us the ability to just converse. It's like we're in the same room together. And we had a lot of stuff going on. So Glenn said this one should be a good one. And then what's it? Razor Bay Media Creation. You'd be good show. Looking forward to the broadcast. And then, of course, like I said, a bunch of people said there was no audio. So we had to figure that one out. And then we've got Glenn watching from Manchester. We've got Razor Bay Media Creation in Omaha, Nebraska. Please fix the audio. Yeah, well, you're not going to try lip reading. Everything should work, but I have five video switchers in front of me, and it gets a little confusing when you've got 5 video switchers and 15 cameras, and you're running it by yourself. So this show is very different. There are other people that do shows about live streaming, but they generally don't spend 2 days building stuff to show you. I do. Hello from the open road in Louisville, Kentucky. Good to see you. We have San Francisco in the house. Labnificent says, Mr. Anthony, how are you? Good to see you in the audience. That's on YouTube. Pete Maz photo. And then for those who have seen me do the show before, you know that I am doing this through Restream, which is what forgot the audio, but that is how I'm bringing in comments from Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Facebook on my personal page and Facebook on the StreamTek page. And if you want to try out Restream, you use my affiliate link or use your phone and scan the QR code right there. They do that little spiffy animation too. That's pretty cool. They do this whole studio that I'm going through. Try out Restream with this affiliate link. There's a free plan. You don't have to pay. Try it out. Check it out. Poke around. See what it can do. And if you like it, then use my affiliate link to sign up so I can make 50 cents. But let's get back to those chats. This is the comparison I've been waiting for. Well, I've been waiting for it too, because YOLO, as we all know, YOLO has jumped ahead. They've been doing this for a year and a half with the 4K video switchers, all-in-ones. They came out with the Ultra, aptly named UHD, Ultra HD, Ultra, and then they came out with the Extreme. And just to give you a look, I have the Extreme right here. The Extreme is set up on the table. You can see every input is filled, and I've got 2 USB cameras. Every input is filled, and several of these are 4K. In the other corner, we have the Director Plus. Magewell has jumped ahead and released this, which, you know, we know that Magewell and OBSBot share some hardware, so we expect to see another one of these very similar to this come out soon. Magewell has released this. This is shipping. This is available at B&H. I have all 4 HDMI inputs connected. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 HDMI inputs connected. Now, only 2 of these are 4K. Only, what is it? 8 minus 3. Only 5 of these are 4K. 2, 5. There, you have your first comparison. You have your first comparison where you sit there and say, I need to connect as many 4K HDMI inputs as possible. The winner is the Extreme because it has 5 HDMI inputs and technically 3 USB inputs. So you could use converters on here too. So if you want to bring something in here, you've got 3 converters. Now, I'm going to give you a big caveat. After having spent 2 weeks and last week's, if you didn't see last week's show where I took the Director Plus and I pushed it as hard as I could. Now, I pushed it as hard as I could in an HD show. After that, for the review that's coming out for streaming media, I actually pushed it again in 4K. And the results are very different. You can only do so much in these tablets because they are tablets. They are not computers. You cannot go in there and install more RAM. You cannot install a bigger GPU. You cannot upgrade no, they are what they are. And that's going to be the limitation. You can see right now, if you look closely, I should have that right here. Right here, the CPU on my YOLO is already at 77%. The RAM's only at 52%. But if you come over here to the device status of the Plus, my CPU is only at 37%, but my memory is at 75%. So they're doing things very differently, and you're going to hit a ceiling. You will hit a ceiling. I just want to make that clear that these are not computers. You can get a desktop machine. You can do 4K into a desktop machine. You can, and then say, oh my goodness, I'm hitting a bottleneck with my RAM. I'll add more RAM. Oh, I'm hitting a bottleneck with the GPU. I'll get a better GPU. Oh man, I seem to be like underpowered on the CPU. I can replace the i7 with an i9. You know, you can step things up when you find where that bottleneck is. You cannot do that with the all-in-one machines. So that's why today's show is so important, so that you know where the bottlenecks are, and you can then assess, am I coming in via NDI? Am I coming in via HDMI? Am I coming in via USB? Where and what am I going to do for my particular usage so that I can get the right machine? So like I was saying, if you're going to come in via HDMI for all your cameras, there's the clear winner is the Extreme because it's got more 4K HDMI inputs. And when I say more, I mean, let's just say HDMI 1. Let's ignore 1, 2, and 3. Let's put it on the side. Ignore 1, 2, and 3 because those are the HD inputs, which apparently are coming in at greater than HD. So whatever. We'll scan past those. Okay, 4 is coming in at 4K. 5 is coming in at 4K. 6 is coming in at 4K. 8 is coming in at 4K. I don't know what happened to 7. But 7 should be coming in at 4K as well, but it's not there. And USB 2 is coming in at 4K. USB-C is coming in at 4K. So you can see we are handling a good bit of 4K here. My CPU is at 85%. My RAM is at 52%. Very different statistic use than on the Director. In the other corner, let's come over here. Go back to this, bring this down. You can see right here, HDMI 1, 4K, HDMI 2, 4K. 3 and 4 are coming in at HD. Webcam 1 at 4K, webcam 2 at 4K, NDI at 4K, NDI at 4K. I love the fact that this gives me statistics for everything. And it also tells me what it is. It's coming in MJPEG. The webcam's coming in at 0.93 frames per second. That seems kind of low, don't you think? That seems kind of low. Let's look at that webcam. Let's bring it up. Come on. Oh, I got to tap on this one. Let's see. Where is that Tiny 2? Does that look like 0.9 frames per second? Not to me. Let's try this one. 0.9 frames a second? No. Don't look at the thumbnails at the bottom. It only does one thumbnail a second. So I'm looking at these. I'm saying, yeah, these look fine. So ignore the statistics that say they're coming in. Oh, there it is. Now it's at 29.95 seconds. So it's dropping the frames per second when it's not in program. Smart thing to do, actually. So, and then if I come back over here and I tap that, then technically both of those, let me drop that down again, both of those should drop back down to very low frames per second. All right, cool. Should do that with all of them. There's actually a trick that none of these devices do, which is something that the TriCaster did. And 10 years ago, it was able to bring in full bandwidth NDI. Okay, not 4K, but it was able to bring in 8 cameras over a single gigabit switch. How did it do that? Well, there's a little known fact that with NDI, there's actually 2 streams. There's the big stream that you want to use, and then there's a quarter frame preview. And what the TriCaster did was, for any camera that wasn't in program, it only used the quarter frame preview. So you could have 10, 12 cameras connected, and all of them are this teeny little, less than 1 megabit quarter frame preview, except for the one that's in program. That one's full. And then when you switch, it would keep jumping around. None of these devices do that. They're not smart enough, or they don't have the protocol. All right, let's see. Mike from Miami. Hello, Mike from Miami. So is the audio issue coming from the Director 4K or the Extreme? Neither. We're not listening to the audio from either of these devices. These devices are on the test bench. They're not on the production bench. The audio is being generated by the Director Mini that I produce on, and it got lost going to Extreme. Oh, interesting. We've got one. Quick Life Sports says Magewell any day. Wolfgang says hello from Germany. We've got Quick Life Sports saying hello from India. Does Frank still come around? Frank doesn't visit my shows. It's probably in the middle of the night in China, so I understand that. Either way, this is the best comment. Pete Mazphoto says, the consumer wins. More competition, the consumer wins. Absolutely. Both of these companies are pushing each other forward. I would be willing to say that the Director Plus would not be as good as it is if it weren't for the Ultra and the Extreme. YOLO pushed it forward. YOLO put that stake in the ground, and then Magewell says, well, we got to do at least this. We have to, because that's what's already been put out on the table. We have to, you have to, in order to get market. If you put something out that's just less all the way around, nobody's going to buy it. That's the thing. And the consumer wins. We all win as end users. Screen Extreme, Performance and Stability, Director Plus, I'd say. There's a lot to be said to that, and let's look at the overhead. overhead right here. So the screen, you make a very good point. You can see I've got this thing turned down all the way. If you want a big screen, and I know a lot of people looked at the Director Plus and says, man, I really wish the screen was bigger. And as I'm saying in the review, I think Magewell says they still want to keep it as a camera top unit. You're not going to put this on top of a camera. It's just a behemoth. And with the built-in battery, it's super heavy. This thing is smaller. It's lighter. You know, if you're going to power it off a DC, you don't have the big battery weight in there either. It's just a comfortable thing to use. This thing always has the battery in it. It just always does. And the battery is big enough to run it and power this large screen at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I did not plan for this, but since you brought it up, I am going to dim this down, and then we are going to brighten this up, and we're going to oh, you can see I'm there you go. That's bright over there, and it's bright over here. And then let's go to my program. I'd actually say this one looks a little brighter. I can make this bigger. I'd say they're pretty comparable. This one looks a little warmer than this. And if I continue to iris this down, whoop, that's the wrong way. You can see that they are comparable in terms of brightness. So in terms of using them outdoors in the sun, I'm going to call this a draw. That was one of the tests. I actually have screen down. Screen. Well, you can't see it because it's so bright. So that was a great test. And yes, the screen brightness is a critical thing when you are in a bright situation. You need to be able to crank this baby up. And I think both of them are comparable. What I do find is that this one, the bottom part doesn't seem like it's not very different here. And then that last bit really ramps up. So if you're in a dark situation, I actually say this one gets darker. This one, it's always starting at like 50% and then it goes up from there. I cannot make this, even at the least darkness, the least bright. I can't make it anywhere near as dark as I can make this. So if I'm in a dark ballroom and I don't want a bright thing, or if I want to save power, because the screen uses a lot of power, the Director Plus wins. So that is, let me see if I can get them even again so that we can compare screen to screen as we go through the show. But yes, that is actually, thank you very much for the comment. That is actually one of the things that to really mind is this has a bigger screen. It makes it a little bit easier to work on because you get, if you're not in the big mode here, you get your program, sources, and something else. So I can bring up graphics. I can be doing three things. I see my program and I've got two things I can work on. I see my program and I can do shots and monitor the audio. On the 7-inch screen over here, I can see the whoops, don't tap the screen. I can see the program, but then I've got my overlays for just my shots. I can't see my graphics. I have to switch to graphics, or I can switch to the audio meter, and now I don't see anything. So there is a bit of a challenge in terms of dealing with all of those different things that you want to do on a small screen that is screen sharing those different things. The bigger screen gives you more capability. That said, YOLO has had this layout since the beginning. So even on the smaller screen like the Pro, 7-inch Pro, it's still going to be this layout, just everything's a little smaller. Your program window is a little smaller. It's nice to be able to just tap this and say, there's my program, nice and clean. I can see everything, and I tap that out. One other thing that I have actually asked Magewell to do is that in stress testing the Director Plus, you can see they've got this little status bar at the top, just like this. It's kind of probably just an Android thing that they're making use of. The audio metering in the Director Plus, way better than the audio metering over here. This is just very chunky. This is very fluid, and in all my assessment, very accurate as well. But I'm not going to get into like ear levels and that as well. What I wanted to say is over here, YOLO has, you can see now my CPU is at 80%, it's in red. GPU, RAM, I've got a heads up display that's telling me what all is going on, as well as my upload and download speed, my Ethernet connection, my battery level. Over here, it says I'm plugged in and on Ethernet, but not my speeds. It says I have an SD card. This one says I have an SD card. This one doesn't tell me anything about the status of my current processors and everything. I have to like come down, come over, hit the device status, and then it goes into this screen. And in the heavy head-to-head test, I found that this screen, switching away from the live previews, actually reduces the demand. And then these numbers are not reflective, are not 100% accurate of what's going on now. Now that I've got all the previews on here and the program screen, the demand changes. So having the heads-up display always on the screen, which the director doesn't have, is a key feature. So I'm going to give that to the Ultra. I'm not the Ultra, the Extreme. This is not the Ultra. The Ultra's a lot smaller. Timer, yeah, the timer got messed up because it didn't start it when I started the show. Hey, Kirk Riley from Dallas, Texas, and Al watching from Pico Rivera, California. Share your use cases. What do you use your all-in-one for? I guess he's soliciting people on YouTube for a discussion, and that is fantastic. Have fun on YouTube. Talk to each other. I really appreciate you being here as part of the show. Throw questions in as well. And I use them for corporate production. Event production, and I actually produce these training shows on them and other content. The question comes up. Razor Baby Media Creation says, did you get the streaming issue fixed with the rendering of the websites? Not yet. And I can show that to you. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add a web page, and then I'm going to add StreamTek.us. And for whatever reason, the built-in web page reader, because these are connected to the internet, does not render my web page correctly. Save. So when I call that up, it does not look great. To give you an idea, it's supposed to look like this. But instead, it looks like that. So let's do a head-to-head. Let's go to web page. And we're going to come over here and StreamTek.us. Now, this is not a conclusive test of the web page capability of these devices. Waiting for it to show up over here. No. It's not going to show up. And then you get a little finger icon so that you can actually act on it. Over here, you can, I forget how you do it, but you can actually, web page control, you can actually come in here and scroll and click on things. But clearly the YOLO is having trouble with it too. But if you go to other web pages actually do render properly. It's just, this is a WordPress page, and technically I think WordPress is very, very common. It should be able to handle it. So I guess I can put that into they both fail my web page. So let's not put that too much weight on that, but understand that the built-in web browser is not infallible on either of these devices. So I don't know what engine they're using, but the answer to this question is no. Wolfgang says, I already have a rough idea which part I'll choose, but I'm curious to hear your opinion. Has YOLO opened up their APIs? I do not believe they have opened up the APIs, and that is a key thing too, because if you are integrating either of these devices into, let's just say, a smart room, or you want to have other types of control, let's say you're building it into a church AV system and things like that, having API control really makes the director series, because there's 3 of them now, and they all share the same basic core OS and open API. And you're able to, like, you know, if I turn it on and start something, it can actually tell the lights to dim and pull down the shades. Or when you start up a room, it can start this up. You know, it can actually integrate to the room through the API system. Plus versus the extreme. Yes, that's the question. Now, here, I was waiting for this to come up. This is a key thing that I'm actually going to hand this to YOLO. YOLO has better warnings, because when I did the show where I was basically, last week, I was hammering the Director Plus with everything I could throw at it, 16 inputs. It would the borders would flash red, you know, I bet like a Star Trek red alert warning, but I didn't know what was going on. Like, if you're new to this, and there's lots of people who are going to be buying one of these to be their first try. They've never done switching before. They don't know anything about live production and cameras at all. They don't know about frame rates and HDMI and HDCP and NDI. They don't know any of that. They're like, oh, I just get a camera plug in and I can stream. Having really detailed warnings like this, there's a performance limit warning. Currently, the CPU utilization of the device has reached 80%, exceeding this upper limit of stable operation by 80%. Actually, it didn't exceed the limit by 80%. It exceeded the limit. Okay, so that's poorly worded. Please adjust. And then it even gives you like different things you can do to lower your usage. And you say, I'm not going to say no more reminders. I actually really appreciate the reminders. I'm going to say got it. So I appreciate YOLO taking the time to like put these like training things in the system as pop-ups. When you hit that wall, here's why. Whereas Magewell is new to the 4K world, and people are going to be trying to do like what I did, and they're going to be hitting, you know, they're going to be pushing it too hard, and then they're going to hit that red alert warning and not understand what's going on. So in terms of new people who have never done this before and who need hand-holding on understanding what to do and what not to do, as well as how to undo a problem you're running into, I am going to give that to YOLO. So that is a very cool thing. I saw that come up when I was testing everything, and I was like, I got to make that happen during the show. So, yes. Hello from South Africa. Thank you for being here. And of course, as we said at the beginning, number of inputs is the biggest part for me. Now, that said, you know, you've got all 8 inputs here. You've got your USB inputs. You only have 4 here. You only have 2 USB inputs. Actually, you can technically, you're supposed to, somebody said they connected more cameras to the USB out, but you know, it's all part of the same USB bus. So you can still do multiple USBs. You've got twice as many HDMIs, but remember the last 3 are HD only, just like the last 2 are HD only. Then you get into the IP sources. And when you come over here and you say you want to add, let's just say an NDI stream, it's going to say 6 HX or 2 full NDI. And it's showing me what's out there. When I come over here, it's actually not going to give me it's not going to tell me what the limit is. Again, information for people who are new to it, or the first time they added an NDI camera. They may have been switching with wires on Blackmagic for years, but now it's like, wait, I can do things over Ethernet? Explain this to me. Again, I'm giving that to YOLO already. I go to NDI stream, I say NDI search, and now I can see all these different things on the network here, and I can refresh, I can go into different things. You can add up to 10 IP sources to the Director Plus. 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 4 more over here. Wait, the difference between this and this is 4. So again, when you add up total inputs, all of a sudden the two become comparable. It's just how they chose to divide those inputs up. Another thing to consider is if you just want to use a bunch of phone cameras, Magewell offers an app over here that you can, let's see if I can actually do it while we're talking. Magewell offers an app, Director Plus. See, I got the Director Plus app right there. Only while using Director Plus. Hopefully it's on the right network. So I say phone camera. Okay, and then I come over here, and then I say phone camera 1, create, save. And then I should, phone camera, make sure I'm connecting to the right device. And make sure I'm on the right network too. And go away. Where's my network? I'm on the wrong network, that's why. Thank you, phone, for forgetting the network we had set up on before the show. Edit. Okay, let's try that again. Director, phone camera. Connect. There it is. So now I have a live local phone camera over the local area network over to here. Now you can see the red alert warning. That pushed it over the limit. We're going to keep going. I know this is just warning you, just like that did. Saying you're high. Okay, got it. This is a little bit more annoying. I just would like to have a little red icon in the corner. You can have 8 of these. No wires, just 8 of these. And that is really cool. In terms of being able to use these phones as cameras, and if I click on this, then I have pan tilt zoom. I can remotely zoom in the camera. I have remote control of the camera from here. I can flip the camera around, go to the other camera. I can flip the camera around, go to the back facing. The thing it's not doing, and I told them I would really like to see, is I would like to be able to switch cameras, although this one doesn't have multiple cameras. Change the white balance, autofocus, tell the camera to record internally in the camera. Ooh. All kinds of real nice things. So let's put on the image stabilizer. That's a little better. And all of that is possible only on the Director. So if you want to go with a really lightweight system, I turned it off. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to delete that so that I can delete. I'm going to delete these things so that I can just not have to look at the red alert warning. If you want to go with, look, 2 camera kit. And remember, this has got big antennas on top, and you can install, bigger antennas or directional antennas. If you want to go with a really lightweight local kit and use a bunch of phones as cameras with audio from each of the cameras as well, video follows audio and all that greatness, I'm going to hand that to the Director. And that has been around since the beginning, but getting to 8 cameras or 10 IP sources is just pretty darn amazing to me. So 8 cameras into here, no cameras. I mean, you can use the NDI app as just as well as you could do it here. So technically, if you use the NDI app, you can go to 10. So that's 10 over here, or it's 6 over here. So depending on how you want to connect the cameras, that's going to change on the different devices. Here we go. Next big one. Screen and battery life. Super important too. Screen. If you want a big screen, if you want a screen that lets you work on multiple things at the same time, this is your screen. You can also do full screen like this and switch your inputs over here. You can also annotate and draw on the screen. Yeah, I can draw on the screen over here too. Look, I'm drawing on the screen, although I wish this pen was bigger. So these are comparable in terms of, look, this is about the size of a 7-inch screen. Turn the annotate off, go back. Turn the annotate off and go back. So This one is just a big screen, and the internal battery makes it convenient in terms of you don't have to bring an extra thing. The external batteries on the back of this, you've got external power for each, of course, and 2 batteries on here. The 2 batteries will run for hours. And did I put them away? I put them away. This comes with a 5 amp power supply as opposed to the 3 amp power supplies on the smaller units. So I would definitely say if you're going to use an NPF battery on here, which is the size it takes, you're going to want to use the big one, the 970, so that you can actually swap. This one's getting low, it's on the last one. Okay, put a new one over here, take this one off, put a new one over here, take that one off, put a new one over here. You could just run indefinitely swapping the batteries out. You can kind of do the same thing with this. Got it. You can kind of do the same thing with this. Maybe I'll just delete that web input because it can't figure it out. By running with an external battery. And then when that external battery runs out, because it's going to push the power into here, and this is going to try to charge. Then when that external battery runs out, you unplug it. Now the built-in battery is your UPS. And then you take another external battery and you run off the external battery. So battery life, I'm going to call that a draw. They're both flexible. This has an internal battery, great. This doesn't, and that is great in other, great in different ways. And external batteries also means in terms of long term, you're going to use this thing for the next 5 years. You're going to use it a lot. You're going to use it on battery power a lot, meaning you're going to drain it and power it back up. This using external batteries means that when those batteries wear out, you just get new batteries. When this internal battery wears out, and if it starts to swell, it's inside the machine. There's not a repair process for this. There's not a YOLO factory service center in the United States or in most countries where you can sit there and ship this to New York or ship it to London or Dubai and say, 1 week I'm going to get it back with a new battery in it. That doesn't exist. Hopefully YOLO does do that. But right now, the external battery solution in terms of long-term product purchase usability, I'm going to give that to the director. Sean says, I'm commenting from your Facebook page. Thank you. Haven't had the chance to use the Ultra or the Extreme. They are both good tools. The Ultra is really due for an update. A lot of refinement that has gone on in the Extreme is supposed to come down to the Ultra. RAM and GPUs cost a lot more these days. All computers, different upgradability and compatibility. For computers, yes, but there's no upgradability or for either of these units. They are as they are when you buy them. There's never going to be like a RAM upgrade for these devices. Push them both as hard as you can. It's much better to learn now than in front of a client. Well, that's your testing. I cannot simulate your use case. And my simulation might have nothing to do with how you're going to use it. Like if somebody is in a really, if somebody lived in Texas, like I do, but they're doing outdoor sports or an outdoor concert during the weekend, and they have to run the screen at full brightness, and they're doing a lot of network IP and decoding, and they're really hammering the CPU, and it's trying to cool itself, then all of a sudden thermals become a problem. I can't test that. I can't test your environment here. So, what else we got? 4K streaming and ISO recording. How does it compare? Really key points with this is, and we're just going to talk about the different, this is great. I love the back and forth of this. Throw your comments into the comments so that we keep going this way. 4K streaming. Now, with the YOLO, every YOLO box since the very beginning, when you want to go streaming and you use YOLO Live's multi-streaming service, let me put me over, YOLO Live's multi-streaming service, you send one stream and it goes to 3 destinations. So I've got YOLO's multi-streaming service. I can then come over here and say, I'm going to go to the StreamTek channel, the public one, done. And it's going to create these events and I'll delete them later. I'm going to go to Facebook and it's going to come up with the Facebook, hopefully, unless I'm de-authed and it didn't know that. And then it's just going to give me an error. Welcome to Facebook, where you can be de-authed at any time because it's Facebook. All right, not going to happen. Oh, okay. Facebook and Twitch only support 1080p. Facebook and Twitch don't support H.265. Again, the alerts. Win. That's why it's not coming up, probably. So actually, Twitch, I think, did it last time. Yes, I know. Twitch said, yeah, whatever. Facebook was like, nah. And then I could go to like LinkedIn. So now I've got 3 things selected, but I'm only going to send one stream. But if I'm going to send a stream at 10 megabits because it's 4K and I want 4K to go to YouTube, I don't know what the other platforms are going to do with it. Maybe they just won't go anywhere. But you can see that that is an advantage for YOLO. When you stream from the director, and you go to here and you go to settings and you go to stream, you can go to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, you can go to NDI, you can go to SRT and Restream. Restream actually has a hook directly in here. So I could actually hook it directly through my account in Restream and do my multicasting that way. Very cool. And then I actually get some Restream controls back in this device. I have not hooked that up because that's not part of today's show. The streaming capability, you're still going to send, if you want to send to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, you're going to send 3 streams. You can send, I believe, 4 streams at the same time. But if you're sending a 10 megabit stream, you're sending 40 megabits worth of data. If I'm sending 3 from the YOLO box, I'm sending 10. Now, the multicasting on the YOLO box is only up to 3, has not increased. 3. Or if you turn off YOLO's multi-streaming service, you're sending 1, and it's limited to 1. You can't send 4. You can't do that over here. So, which one's better? You know, I want to send 4. You can send 4 with this one. You can't send 4 with that one. I want to send with as low bit rate as possible. I can multicast with this one. I can't multicast with that one. Bonding is available for both. With the Director, it's available through Speedify, which is a separate app. So you can come over here and you go into your apps. I can run another app. I can add Speedify. I don't know why I did this already. Yes. And then I can run Speedify over here as my second app. They went to this app interface. Agree. Continue. They went to this app interface, which is kind of interesting because what it does is it allows you to update the apps independently. So when this thing says, "Oh, there's a new update available," you're just like, "Well, okay, go update it." As opposed to it being built into the Director software, which is how it was for the Mini and the One. Bonding is part of the YOLO experience. It's not a separate app. So you pay Speedify or you pay YOLO for bonding. And I've had many people say, well, bonding should just be included. And I am here to tell you bonding is not included because you're taking these packets, you're sending them out on different pathways. They'll have to arrive at some other place that reassembles all of those packets in the right order before sending it off to YouTube. That computer, somebody had to pay for that computer and maintain it and power it and cool it and connect it to a high-speed thing because you're not the only one doing the binding. So that server costs money. So if you have a bonding service that doesn't cost money, I'm willing to bet you it's not a true bonding service. That debonding, my invention of a word, that debonding server is that whole, the software that was created that puts the packets in the order, connection to your account, power, light, cooling, all of that has to be paid for. And that is why bonding, true bonding, costs money. J Film says, hello from Atlantic City. I can't wait for the integration of Zoom and Teams on the Magewell Plus. That is a possibility. We don't know when that's going to happen. People have asked for it in the Magewell groups on Facebook. That would be cool, because if you can run Zoom on an Android device, which you can, and log into your account, and then share the camera that you've created in the Director app. Remember, these are separate apps. Let's look at this again. These are separate apps. So if I go into the application list, here's the Director app. And if I have the Zoom app and I take the output of the Director app, the video and audio, and I feed that in as my camera into the Zoom app, then that offers a lot of flexibility. And this separate app structure is what makes that possible. It's a very interesting development. It's an innovative way to deal with it. And YOLO has kind of had that, not on the Ultra yet, not on the Extreme yet, but on the Ultra, you're able to do vertical mode. And in vertical mode, you're able to do TikTok and Instagram and things like that. And it has that app structure. You're able to update those apps independently of YOLO. So YOLO does kind of have that, but so far only in the vertical world. The YOLO has more power and capability. Well, we've seen, I've got a couple more cameras connected here, and I'm at 77% on the CPU, and I've got 8 cameras connected here, and I am at only 36% on the CPU over here. So which one has more power? So obviously these two devices are doing these things differently. To be able to, have, where's my overhead? There it is. 78% on the CPU, 27% on the CPU over here, only 50% on the RAM, but 78% on the RAM. They're built differently, and they're doing the compute differently. It's just like two different, like it's like using Wirecast or vMix. It's two different ways of leveraging a PC to do video mixing. That's what we have here, two completely different ways of doing it. And you can see now, what we don't know is how much RAM is on this device and how much RAM is on this device, and how fast the CPU is over here and how fast the CPU is over here, how many lanes it has. So it's 78% of what? And this is only 27% of what? We don't know. So whether one has more power and capability is almost not as important as how they use it. Just like Formula One racing. They're all kind of in the same exact car. Who's the better driver? In my opinion, carry an iPad if you want a big screen. Portability wins. That is, for some people, portability wins. For other people, like I did a show and I chose it. Well, this wasn't available yet. I chose this because it had a big screen. I wanted all the viewer comments all on this big screen. And I wanted to have the two outputs, which the Director Plus does not have, independently assignable like this. Now, with this over here, I have 3 outputs actually. And if I scroll over to this screen, you can see I've got HDMI out 1, I've got HDMI out 2, and I've got the USB-C out. And with each of these, I can choose what I want them to be. And if you want to have a shortcut, you can assign a shortcut and then use an external keypad and switch your aux feed out to the monitor or the projection screen in the room, or and have another switch going to the USB out, that might be going to Zoom. You know, it's like you can switch different things. So this is in the room and this is going to Zoom, and you got two different switches going through the one device. You don't have that over here on the YOLO box, and that's something that I have actually asked them. You know, I did an event and I said I would have loved to be able to switch the second HDMI out so that I can have my main program be what I'm recording, and I can show the audience different things. And then what's up on the screen is the slide presentation with, you know, who's getting what award. But then when they go up there to speak, I could actually switch that to them speaking, which I'm also getting as part of my recorded program. You know, switching two different things from the same collection of sources. And I don't have to have two switchers and split everything out. So that is something that can be valuable. But of course, having all that capability, all that, you know, with great power comes great size and weight. Feature, night mode redshift. I think you can actually color calibrate this screen. I think you can. I think I did on one of the first ones. CPU is a bit high on the YOLO. Is that the newest version that fixes the wrong indicator? I will be honest, I did not do the update right before the show because I always say don't do an update right before a show. Wait for it. Software versatility, multicam replay, inviting guests, number of NDI inputs. YOLO wins. Inviting guests, definitely, because there is no guest feature in the director on any Magewell. There's no guest feature, and because the OBSBot are built on the Magewell hardware, there is no guest feature. YOLO has a cloud connected to this. That's how you're able to do the multicasting. And because they have a cloud, they have leveraged that, and you can invite remote guests, which I've turned off. Boom, 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 boom. Invite guests. Done. So now you can come over here, turn on the remote guest, and invite guests. And you have the ability to have these, you know, how many guests do you want? You get these little avatars with the numbers in them, and you can pre-build your scenes. I will take full credit for this whole avatar thing. I specifically asked for this. I drew it out for them, and they did it not just exactly how I did it, they improved on that. So I'm going to give them credit. They did a great job. But I asked for this. Again, performance limit warning. This remote guests is not available over here. So if you want to have a show with remote guests, that is the YOLO wins. Hands down, the YOLO wins because there's no remote guest. If you wanted to use iPhones as local cameras, I'm going to say use the Director app, and I would go with this. You can use NDI with both, but you're going to get much more capability from using the phone camera app over here. Remote guest, what was the other one? Multicam replay. That is something done. I have not used heavily on either of these. You can do 4 channels of instant replay on the Director Plus, and I actually have it turned off. Gonna turn it on, done. Let's go to replay. You can turn replay on. Current CPU use is 80%. Enabling this feature is estimated to increase by 24%, reaching 104%. Why not? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I can't even turn it on over here. So understand that, you know, and this is a key point. If you're doing a 4K show with multiple 4K inputs, like I'm doing here, I just have the inputs coming in. I have one multi-view. I have one picture-in-picture where I did a chroma key. There's nothing else built. There's no remote guests. I'm not actually recording or streaming yet. And it's already telling me you can't do replay. There's just not enough available. You are going to run into limitations. You know, I think people may come into this thinking that if I get a robust network, which is why this thing is here, this is my network, and it is handling all of those NDI signals to both devices all the way around, and my control. And I have the NDI devices going to a laptop over here, which is over here. So the NDI devices are also going to my laptop so that I can, you know, tweak the shot and everything. And for those people who say, I am going to get the director plus I am going to get the extreme, and I'm going to have, you know, 5 4K cameras, and I'm going to do 5 4K ISOs, and I'm going to do replay, and I'm going to do, you know, 4K streaming, and you're not going to be able to do that. You're not. These are not desktop computers. As I said in the beginning, you're not going to be able to hit a bottleneck and then say, oh, well, there's not enough CPU. Well, I'm going to replace my i7 with an i9, and I'm going to get more lanes. Oh, I don't have enough 4K inputs on the Director Plus. Well, I'm just going to add another 4K card and get more 4K inputs. Oh, my storage is a little slow. I'm going to add another NVMe inside there, and I'm going to split my records across the 2 cards, you know, so that I don't bottleneck on one storage medium. You can't do that in these devices. You can't. You can record internally on both these devices. You can record externally on both these devices. You can't split your records. I will say the CPU on the Extreme, I put my hand down on it. I was like, ooh, that's hot. And I put my hand down on the Plus. This is not hot. This is handling, you know, it's handling all these. And admittedly, it's just 8 inputs, and this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 inputs. This is not hot at all. This is very well cool. I put my hand down on this, and I have the fan set on here. I have the fan set to high, manually set to high. I wanted it to just be full blast the whole time, and I don't think high is fast enough. So this is hot. CPU temperature, 85. Ooh, I wonder if this gives me a CPU temperature. 53. 85. And I can feel the difference on the device because that CPU temperature is radiating into the case. This CPU temperature is cooler. And remember, the battery is in here too, so it's heating up the battery as well. Multi-camera replay. Software versatility. That's a very broad term. I don't know what to speak to. In terms of building a show, I like there's 2 key differences. I will say that I like the fact on the Director series, all of them, every scene you create, and I can pull up, you know, this camera, every scene you create is a multi-layer scene. Actually, let me close that. Let me just, oh, I built one so I can show you that way. Edit. Every scene you create has multiple layers. Like right now, I have 4 layers in this scene. I didn't have to like bring in my camera and then bring in a background and then bring in my other camera and then bring in my other camera and then from that create a scene. That's sort of like the vMix way of doing it. That is how the YOLO works. So if I want to create a picture over picture like this, I have to bring in the guy, and then I duplicated it to get rid of the background, and then I have to bring in the background, and then I have to create a picture in picture to put him over top. So that's my scene. These are just inputs. On the Director, every scene, every icon along the bottom is a scene. If you choose to have a scene only be just a camera, that's fine. But you can have a camera with a corner bug. You can have a camera with a border. You can have a camera with an overlay. You can have a camera that's keyed over a background. That can be your scene. It's done. Like if you look at this show, this scene is me over a blue background keyed with my StreamTek purple. So this is my scene. It's just a camera. It's on, you know, it's on camera 1, but that's my scene. So different ways of working in terms of software. That said, I really do like the way the YOLO box builds scenes. So if you wanted to add a scene and you say add, and then you've got all these different preset layouts, and it's very easy to be side by side with this girl and that data source done, and then I can adjust the spacing a little bit, put a border behind there, put a border or put a background on there, change the color of the border, okay, and done. And now that's available. That's very fast and easy to do. Perfect for people who are new to things, to be able to do it this easily and get really nice looking results like zip, zap, zip. I have to hand that to YOLO. I've always said YOLO, the ease of use in terms of building pictures and things like that is just really, really nice. Whoever their HUI person for doing that, give them an award. Now you can, on the Ultra, they do have some multi-views, right? So I can do a side-by-side. I can say 1 is going to be this and 2 is going to be that. Continue. But now it's sort of like, okay, I want to take this one. Well, I can't. It's kind of size. I can do that. I can put a frame on them, a border of this thickness and of this. You can see it's a little bit clunkier, advanced. Now I can put a label on that. I can have NDI. I can change the NDI properties, a transition. So maybe I can have them zip in when I do that. Save. But I didn't see a way to edit. I didn't see a way to add a background to this. Oh, background. There we go. I want to add a picture from my SD card and my media. I have a folder called backgrounds. Go past all the things that Macs create just to annoy me. Put a background on there. There you go. I get a nice background. Save. And that is my scene. There you go. There's my scene. It can be done. It's just a little clunkier. And it also has to do with the way the director does scene building, is that those things that you add, you're not pulling from things already loaded. You're pulling from everything. So you're building everything from scratch. I'm building this multi-view from scratch. Whereas when you do it on the YOLO box, and I say I want to build a scene and I want to do a picture-in-picture, I can only build it from the things that I've already brought in. I don't get to choose from all of the stills that are on my media card. That's how the director works. That's not how this works. Two different ways of working. Neither one of them is right, but which one works for you? Let's go to side by side. You can also get stat screen via web API. Yes, you can. Guess what? I've got that set up. Of course I do. So over here on the laptop, if you come over to here, I've got my Asus stats. You can see I'm using my Asus router here, and I've got the Asus stats up. I don't know why it's not showing me a whole bunch more data. This is the Magewell. I will say their web interface is very well thought out. Here's all my inputs. Here are my graphics. Here's my audio mixer. Here's my background music. Here are all my shortcuts programmed in here. Here's my fade to black. I don't know why people still want that. Here's my live comments. I will say this is a key element. I'm going to jump in here. Live comments. Handling live comments on the Director series, not great. It's okay. I feel handling the comments over here, it's got its own tab for comments. Here you go. This is the comments. It will pull them in from all those three connected through APIs and line them up. I can then tap them onto the screen. I can also choose, what they look like out of these three themes. I wish they would come up with more, but they haven't. I use that one. Done. And that's cool. And then you could also, I don't use auto trigger, but you can also have them set up to automatically fade out after so many seconds. I really like that. You don't have all of that capability with the Director in terms of bringing in live comments. They really need to step up their game in terms of handling, managing, and displaying live comments on the Director series. and the ops bot. So I'm going to give live comments. So if live comments are a big part of your show, that's going to be the extreme. And you get a bigger part of the screen, and going to live comments doesn't take away from doing it over here. Now, let's get back to the fact that both of these have a web interface. I'm going to try to do this left-handed. This is not the best way to do this. Create a show, show list. I don't know why you would have create a show if you're in the middle of producing a show. You've got your encodings. You can have 4 different encodes. Actually, no. You can have lots of encodes, settings. These are sort of like saved ways, recipes. Let's just call these recipes. The encodes are the 20 different ways I like to save things. But then it's when you go to record, you choose one of these encodes. So you can have 4 records going on at the same time. Streaming, there's your different streaming things, your album of content that you have recorded, your replays. I don't have any replays. Screenshots that you've taken. This is where you load your background music. I kind of like they get a little turntable there. That's cute. All of your media that you've got loaded in there, and your system, different settings for the system. One of the really cool things that most people aren't going to mention is if you are a studio and you are building things out and you are going to have multiple units of something, you can, on the director, to my director side, you can come over here and go to your show list. See my show list? I can export it. I can save it to an SD card. Actually, you go over here and say, I want to save this. That's okay. Here's my show config and my media, the media that I used in the show. I can export all of that to a file that I can then carry or email somebody in California. They can load this up on their Director Plus and have my show. That's really cool. That is not possible on the YOLO box. On the YOLO box, and this is the reason why I'm not producing on these shows, I'm in this show. If I exit this show, you want to exit this? Yes. And this is where I get to see if I'm wrong. I can duplicate or I can delete my standard events. So I created an event, I can delete that event, or I can duplicate, which means make a new one, but it's all existing within my account on YOLO. Now, technically, if someone in California has another YOLO Box Extreme and they log into this same, let's just say it's a company account, they will see all of these shows, but they won't have the media. There's no cloud media pass-through. Cloud show, they can see it, but they can't get the media that's part of this show. So those backgrounds and the videos, video playbacks that I have going on, they're not going to be available to the person in California. So let's go back into the show. Yoop. Look at that. This is interesting. Let's look at that. HDMI in 1, 2, and 3, force convert to 1080p resolution. Okay, fine, done. So let's see if it changed. HDMI 1, 2, and 3. This is the force convert to 1080p resolution. Do you see 1080p listed for HDMI 1, 2, or 3? I don't. So, so much for the force convert. Anyway, continuing along with this, let's go back over here. That is the Magewell control. And then, of course, I have the YOLO connection drop. Really? You're going to make me do this again? See, I had it set up. 192, 168. Because it's on the local. I don't know why I have to go to a web page on YOLOlive.com in order to type in the local IP address 157 to get into my own device, which is right here, like that laptop, to connect to this device. Anyway, so this is the web control for the YOLO, and like he says, you can see the stats. I'm not streaming, so there's no resolution, bit rate, frames per second. You can see my CPU, temperature, memory, and uptime. It's been up for 19 hours. Really? Okay. And the director, you can see there's my stats at the same time. CPU, GPU, memory, free space, fan speed, my DMC, which is dynamic memory control. I guess it's moving memory around. And then other stats as well. And then my input output, it's going to show me all the different sources I have and their connection rates. Very similar. It looks exactly the same as what I've got on the Director Plus itself, as well as you can come down here. I think they really need to manage how these web pages are drawn, because I can't scroll the web page down, and this is a little small. So I guess let's try this. I'm going to have to make this smaller. So now we can look at my webcam sources. Yay. Phone camera sources. Yeah, that's not showing me anything. Oh, is this what? Yeah. Oh, if there's no signal, this is what, yeah, there. If there's no signal coming in HDMI, show me that. If there's no signal coming in webcam, show me that. If there's no signal coming in NDI, show me that. Okay, whatever. Not very useful. But the screens here on the Magewell, I find 90, let's go to 90, look a little bit better than this. Because here I can see my sources, nice and big. Here I'm moving, and my sources are not changing. Whereas if I go to the Magewell and I go to produce, and you look at my sources, you'll see them all changing and updating, and there's my live program. And if you really want to see more sources, you can actually come over here to the scenes. Again, they're scenes, not just sources. You can break this out into its own page and it'll fill up. And all of these are still going to update all the time. And if you go over to the web control detail on the, so I would think that that would be programmed, but I'm not getting programmed. Again, I'm not on the absolute latest update. Source, here are my sources. You can see I can scroll down to, oh, wait, side by side is moving. That's weird that the side by side is the only one that's moving. Why is that? Because it's selected? What if I select this one? Interesting. That's the program. So it's only going to show me, it's only going to update the one I have selected as program. Can I select program here? I can. But it's a little hard to know when to switch to which camera if all of the cameras aren't updating. Wouldn't you say? So I'm going to give the web interface to Magewell. I think we can all agree, just looking at these two screens already, that the web interface goes to Magewell. Here's the overlays. I can bring up an overlay. I can, well, I'm tapping it, but it's not going on. So if I go like this, it tells me it's on. If I click this one, so I can't click it in the web interface, but it does show me what's going on. Here's my audio, and I'm not seeing any audio meters over here. So let's go back over to the Magewell. Oh, not that one, that's just the scene. So if I go back to the audio mixer, here's the audio mixer for the Magewell, and you can see there are my channels, and I can scroll to the left and right. The one thing I have asked about for Magewell is that if I would love to be able to turn off channels that I'm not using, like if I'm not using audio from the USB, I would like to be able to just make those go away, or change the order, have like a little number icon so that I can like click on the source and say, make this number 2, make this one number 3, or make this NDI. I'm running all my audio in from the NDI. Make this one right next to program so that the ones I need are all together right here, and I don't have to keep running to the end of the thing and then running back to the beginning to get back and forth between the sources that are active. Because showing me everything, like my mic 1 and mic 2, which have nothing plugged into them. USB audio. So being able to turn those off. I mean, yes, you can physically turn them off as don't accept any audio from them, but I would like them to go away. And on vMix, you have the ability to collapse and sort of get things out of the way so that you're just focused on the 3 things that you need to do. Web API, Magewell. Still room for improvement, but clear winner is Magewell. And this is a key thing in terms of being able to control your device remotely or distribute tasks. If you want to be able to distribute tasks, each of these people has to be able to see the audio in real time and adjust the audio faders in real time. And look, they can see the program too. So the person who's got a laptop and they're just doing the audio mixing for you and they're sitting way over there, they've got this screen. That's a win. And then the person who is basically handling your graphics for you, look at that. They've got this screen and they've got the program window so that's like they can call this up and here it comes. And then they can call it out. So you can see they can call and they can activate the graphics. They can see the program. You can distribute tasks to a bunch of different people. If you had a scoreboard, if you had a game and you had the sports scoreboard, I don't have one here. If you had a sports scoreboard, giving somebody just control of the sports scoreboard to like runs, hits, errors, time, and all that, who's on base and all of that, give that to one person. So web API goes to Magewell. 1 or 2 possibilities: WordPress issues or HTML4 as opposed to HTML5. Could be, yeah, either of those things. But clearly both of them are not able to do what my Windows 10 Surface does just fine. So they definitely have to step that up. And here's another good test. Going back to this, we will go to that side by side. Could be, but let me go into a different application. We're on app number 2. Let's go to Chromium. All right. Let's go to StreamTek.us. Just a hint, you can move that control bar around. StreamTek.us. So we're going to go to... StreamTek does not support a secure connection with HTTPS. Yeah, okay. Continue. So the web browser app in here is able to display it. It's not an HTTPS because it does actually come up as a source. Let's exit this and, oh, I deleted it. But now you see this is going up, but I haven't really added anything because this is the total CPU usage, I believe, or the total RAM usage is going up because I'm using apps now in the background. And the alert has to do with the total usage of the processing. And I have multiple apps running. So I can close Speedify. And you can see StreamTek is working just fine here. So it's not... Let's go back to my apps. Close that out. Close. Go back to the director. And now you can see that the red alert has gone away because the background apps, which were using resources, now aren't using those resources. So that's another thing to be aware of. With limited resources, running multiple things, just because you can do something on here doesn't mean it's the best idea to do it on here. I will say though, when I was setting up the Director Show, being able to go into the Chromium app, access my bird dog camera and tweak the exposure from here and then close it, very convenient. I didn't have to like dig out a laptop, hook up to the network, browse it, find it, then go to the web page, go into it's just this long thing just to like adjust the iris a little bit, Being able to do it directly from here, very handy. So having that capability in a pinch can really pay off. But you can see it's the built-in browser as part of the Director app is not capable of what the standalone app on the same device is able to do. Supra Simple says, trying to find out if Magewell is only allowing specific versions of the approved apps. Could be, because it says it's the Chromium browser, so it probably has to be a rights-free version of the browser to be put on here. And this comes to one of the differentiations too, is that the Talent 2 is going to be based on this hardware. Great. Now, the Talent 2 will obviously tweak the software a little bit to work with OBSBot cameras. But OBSBot also makes an Android app to control their cameras. Wouldn't it be cool if Magewell put the OBSBot app on the Magewell device? It might then cause a little bit of consternation in the OBSBot camp, because now the reason to buy the OBSBot for better synergy with the cameras might not be as big. They're trying to differentiate their products a little bit, and that differentiation might not be as big if you could run the OBSBot app on the Magewell device. Who knows if that happens? But I do have 2 OBSBot cameras connected to this device on the webcam, OBSBot Tiny 3, and I can click on it, click on PTZ control, and you can see, just like on the OBSBot, I've got the human tracking, I've got the gear icon, tracking speed, tracking style, auto zoom, and everything. I can turn that tracking on and off. And, oh, there it goes. You tracking me? No, that was just a reset. I didn't. Okay, I did. There it goes. Now, human tracking is on. And I have the camera tracking me. That's very cool. And I can turn that off. Then exit. And then I go to the OBSBot Tiny 2, PTZ control. You can see the tracking is on. And then I can say, unlock me. Unlock me. Yes. Voice control turned this off. So when I said I wanted it to, it started to use the voice commands to do that. But you can turn it on and off here. And then you've got the 3 presets. This is going to be very different than if I had an NDI device. I'm going to have 9 presets. The NDI overlay is different. So if I went over here and I said I wanted to add an NDI stream, and I'm going to add the tail 2, there's a tail 2, hello tail 2, and I say save, and then I come over here to the NDI. Actually, I don't have to hold it. I can just click the PTZ. Oh, because there's an OBSBot. Okay, never mind. And I'll come over here. I say NDI. Let's see if I can find a non. There it is. Save. Now, I'm on a bird dog. Yes, I know. Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, and my bird dog. There we go. Bird dog. Now you can see with the standard NDI, you get more presets, but then you don't get those tracking features over here. So let me delete these. On that one, let me delete this. Just the red alert screen is very eye-catching. And now it's gone. Only approved apps, no sideloads. Correct. The versions are unclear, but I think that was the motivation. Latest versions. Disable the red flash. Until they come up with the heads-up display, I would love to have the red flash to know that I am pushing it too hard. I think we need to have that feedback. Like having that in yellow or orange and red is essential. I begged them to put that up there. And eventually it was only CPU, but then I did a show with 4K cameras on the Extreme. You can find it on my YouTube channel. And I crashed this machine 4 times. Why did I crash it? Because I was running out of RAM. And RAM was not part of that display. So I asked them to add it. So now you have CPU, GPU, and RAM, the 3 very critical things that you can actually just toast this machine if you go too far. And now they've also upped the warnings on here as well to like really make it harder for you to push it too hard. Paper Sport TV says, hello from Rio de Janeiro, probably watching like 20 minutes ago. My issue with each stream was the lack of NDI adjustments. No groups, buffer, protocol support. Difficult to sync sources from different manufacturers. With the DM, you can dial it in. There is more fine-tuned control on the NDI on the, as you saw when I'm adding NDI streams on the director. You can see I can, let's go, wait, cancel, go back. Yes. Add NDI, NDI search. You can go into the advanced. So you get discovery servers, group name, etc. like that. You want to turn on the discovery server, separate IP. You've got you've got more nuanced high-end control. And I think that comes from the fact that Magewell comes from a broadcast background. So the fact like I can only do a multi-view on here with 3 moving cameras. You're not allowed to do a fourth. They will not let you do a fourth because they know that's going to put the device into a situation where it's going to have to start dropping frames. And that is going to be a problem for the device. So I really appreciate that limitation. YOLO has kind of come to this realization too, and that's why they've got those alerts and warnings on there now. Magewell just like literally just stops you. You don't know why it's stopping you. It's just you're not allowed to add a fourth device, a fourth thing. Whereas on the YOLO, I could technically come over here and say add source, and 4 views. I want to watch this, and this. Done. And I want to make it smaller over a video background with borders of that color. Okay, again, just really easy to do. I love it. And now I've got this multi-view up here. And that multi-view is handling 4. Does that mean that the YOLO is just able to do more, or maybe it hasn't started to drop frames, right? Right now at CPU at 76, GPU and RAM are low. I don't think it would be dropping any frames on that. But when I was using the Pro years ago, that was something I fought with, is that it would do exactly what you asked it to do. Why is that graphic still up? It would do exactly what you asked it to do, but if it didn't have enough CPU power, it would just start frame doubling. So you'd still have 30 frames in the deliverable, but it would just be 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. It would just duplicate because it didn't have enough CPU to do everything. That's back in the Pro era. Now we've got the Ultra and the Extreme, so there's more capability and these alerts and warnings here that let you know, and the things that pop up on the screen. So YOLO is really taking a proactive approach to making sure that you don't exceed the limitations and cause that frame doubling and reduced quality of your live stream. Can you stream in 720? Yes, you can stream in 720 on all of these. So on the YOLO, go to the stream settings. You can stream, title, streaming mode. They moved it around back when I used it more. So this is the record settings. You can record in 4K. You can, you're not going to be able to ISO all of those things. And here's your encoding settings. You got 2 different encoders. You can set your stream to be 720p. So yes. But I set it to be 4K, so the machine is thinking everything in 4K for today's show. For me, audio quality and continuity, no dropouts of video, is more important than video image quality. And this is why I always say an HD show done well is going to be better than a 4K show with limitations. Because if you're doing a talk show or a podcast, what does 4K give you? Look, you can see his beard or her hair with even more detail. Is that going to bring in viewers? Or is the content, what they're talking about, going to bring in viewers? And the content is going to be the same in HD or in 4K. If you're doing a craft thing, I can see 4K. You know, so you need detail work, or you're doing circuits, or you know, clay or glass blowing or something like that. Something with a lot of detail where you want to see that detail. I can see the value in going to 4K, but it doesn't have to be with every camera either. It can be like with this special detail camera. Or if you're in HD, zoom in further, you know? So I agree that bulletproof quality is better than 4K. But that said, these devices being built for 4K means there's so much more headroom for your HD production. So when I did this, like now I'm hitting the red alert screen with 8 inputs and me adding and doing other things. I had 16 inputs in an HD show, and several of those were 4K. So it had to handle transcode those down to HD because the show is in HD. But if you bring in HD cameras in an HD show, you're going to be able to handle a lot of cameras very well on both of these devices because they're built for more. You know, it's like just having that extra strength and capability to do the easy task. The easier task, I should say. Doesn't the multi-streaming on the YOLO have a subscription fee? Restream is basically the same capability with no lock-in, right? The built-in restreaming capability that is in every YOLO box since the original one like 7 years ago, that is included. So when you go to stream, that YOLO's multi-streaming service that goes to 3 destinations, that is included, that is free. YOLO also offers YOLO Cast, and if you're using that, you can go to more destinations. YOLO Cast costs money. Restream offers a free account that will do a little bit of multicasting, and if you want to go to more destinations, Restream costs more money. It's the same thing. For replay, which has more features? I'm going to be an honest human being and say I don't know. I do not do replay. I do not do sports. I have not used replay extensively on both of these devices, especially considering that the Director just came out, to be able to tell you. I can tell you that the Director has 4 channels of replay. I actually don't know how many channels. I can't even turn the replay on the YOLO box because I'm in 4K and it says I've already got too much going on. So how many channels you are going to be able to use is also going to be dependent upon how much you're already asking of the device. So again, if you're working in HD on a 4K device, then you're probably going to have more capability and more replay channels than if you're trying to do 4K replays. Yes, zoom on the extreme. Zoom on either of those would be very good. YOLO always had grainy and low quality live streams. It's also the same with stream. Live stream used to be the sharpest on Sling Studio. I don't know what they did either. Maybe it's just a sharpen filter. I produced YOLO's live streams on a YOLO Box Pro for 2 years, and no one ever said it was blurry or grainy or low quality. That was at 4 megabits. So I don't know what your settings were or what your device, but I would argue to say that YOLO has not always had grainy and low quality live streams. And there's a lot of people using a lot of YOLOs around the world, and if they were always had grainy and low quality live streams, I think people would stop using it. It's sort of like saying this car is a piece of crap, but people still drive it. No, they would stop driving it because it's a piece of crap. Magewell is close and 120 megabit ISO recording on plus. What is max on the extreme? That is a figure that Frank has said. I don't recall. I apologize, but it's probably, if you searched in the YOLO group on Facebook, I don't have, I'm not AI. I cannot search the web in 0.5 seconds and give you a statistical answer. I can give you years of experience, but I can't give you that. Michael Quist says hello from Denmark. Hello from Denmark. 10 gigabit. No, these both have the YOLO the Director has a 2.5 gigabit port. I do not know if the Extreme has a 2.5 gigabit port. As far as I know, it's just a 1 gigabit port. But I went to the trouble to set up this router, which has 2.5 gigabit routing. So I'm bringing in the cameras via 1 gigabit, and then the 2.5 LAN port of this gaming router is then going to a 2.5 gigabit switch, which then goes to both of these tablets so that neither of them is being held back by the network port. That I wanted to make sure that this was a sort of like a fair representation of both of these devices. So we're going to go to the YOLO Box Extreme, and we're going to go to the tech specs. The Ethernet connection is wired. There you go. We want to find out if the Ethernet connection is Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. Which is interesting right here. It says Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7, but it also says it's only 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. That's not 5G, it's 5 gigahertz. Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 also had 6 gigahertz, and the Director specifically calls out the fact that it does 6 gigahertz. To the point of, this is a point of note that, talking about networking, when I first was setting up to do the first Director Plus show, and I tried to connect my cameras to the built-in hotspot, they could not find it because it only started up in 6 gigahertz, and the tail airs do not have 6 gigahertz, so they couldn't find it. It didn't exist. You have to turn on compatibility mode to also turn on 5 gigahertz, and then all of a sudden it was there. And then some people still have issues connecting the tail airs and other devices to it. So you have to like play with the WPA settings and bring those down to make it more compatible to connect to the Director Plus. So it does more advanced, but it also defaults to that more advanced. So you have to like dumb it down so it can talk to your older stuff. This one says 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. But it says Wi-Fi 7, which should include 6 gigahertz. So I don't know why that's not listed there. Ethernet. Here you go. Gigabit Ethernet. That says right there, Gigabit Ethernet. Now, so your networking is better all around on the Director. You've got 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. You've got 2.5 gigahertz Ethernet to be able to handle. If you're going to be bringing in 10 IP sources, you're going to need a fat pipe to make sure there's no bottleneck coming in. And then also, if you're going to start using this as a hotspot, remember that you have to turn on compatibility mode unless all your devices happen to be Wi-Fi 6 at 6 gigahertz. If all your stuff is the latest stuff, if you only own the most recent phones, then you should have no problem. If you own slightly older phones, then turn on compatibility mode. Neither one of them have fiber. Neither one of them have 10 gigabit. Inspired from these devices, we created an Android app, works great with almost all features, quick live sports, minus the hardware ports, UV, CCD camera works great, web graphics overlays. An Android app. Well, send me an email. Go to the, hey, great time for a commercial. Go to the StreamTek.us website. Send me a link. I'd love to check it out, see if it's something we need to highlight here on the show. And as always, if you're watching on various platforms that aren't YouTube, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you like these shows, share these shows and video content on your social media so that people can find out about me. That would do me a solid. Or you could just as easily, if I move my cursor over, you could feel free to throw in super chat for 400 inner. Thank you for the great, for get you a coffee. Thank you very much for just throwing super chat at me. I really appreciate that. It warms my heart to have people watch these shows and say, you're doing a great job. Here's a tip. Thank you very much for that. And I never ask for them either. So thank you. It looks like HDMI inputs. 4 HDMI inputs. Yes, there are 4 HDMI inputs. Continue on, Michael Quist says, max stream quality from the two devices. Max stream quality, 4K. These are 4K all the way through devices. 4K 60 on the Director. Let's double check that on the Extreme. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so we're going to come over here to encoding settings. 4K 60. 4K 60 stream encoding. 4K 60 recording it. You didn't change. 60. There you go. And then you could bump that up to 40 megabits, and you can bump the recording up to 80 megabits. So this is the two encoders on the Extreme, and then on the, go to my overhead, on the, I'm going to say Ultra. On the Plus, on the Director Plus, this has 4 encoder. Well, you have 4 records. And on those 4 records, you can use any number of saved recording profiles, recipes. You can have a dozen saved, but you can only use 4 at a time. And if I call those up, if I go to my records, records, you can see I've got 4 records. And one of the key things is you can see, record 1 is set to use encoding recipe number 1. And it says right there, that's going to be the program at 2160p, 30 frames per second, H.264, 16 megas. Let me bring that up. It's going to 16 megabits. Record 2 is the tail air. It does not give you specifics. It's not using an encode here. It's taking what comes in and saving it. So that's an ISO record. Record 3 is program. This one's at 4K. This one's at HD. You're not going to get 4 4K records. You're going to get 1 4K record. Over here, you've got record 3. I've got my program at 1080. Let's just say I wanted to be able to hand something off on a USB stick real fast. Again, that's using encode 2, which is program at 1080p, 30 frames per second. It's got the details. And then record 4 is the tail 2 camera from Osbot. That's at that IP address. It's just recording the camera as it comes in. So if I click on that, you can see file format is MP4. That's just what's coming in. I don't have settings. I don't have frame rate. I can't control that. I don't get to re-encode that. That's an ISO record of the camera as it comes in. So those are key things to be aware of. In terms of having 4 records, I can encode any number of things, but I can only record 4 things. And if it's an ISO record, it's going to be as it comes in. Now, the same may be said for the YOLO box. It's a little bit less detailed in that I have 2 encodings over there. You see, I have 2 encodings at 4K. But if I come over to my, where did that go? Here it is, my recording settings. And I want to say, oh, I want to record the tail 2 and the bird dog and the AV cans. My record so it's using the record encode set. Is it going to recompress all of those to 4K even if they were HD coming in? I don't know, because it's an ISO record, right? So I'm a little up in the air in saying that it's going to take something that's coming in at HD, like my HDMI 1, which is an HD input. Take HDMI 1, which is 1080, and re-encode it at 4K 60 frames per second, 80 megabits. because I think all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 60 times what's the data rate on that? 80 megabits. That's 320 megabits. That's a pretty hefty speed there. And I don't know if that's really all going to happen. Bitrate limit alert. The encoder bitrate limit of 120 megabits has been reached. So you can see you can't do that. You have to trade off. And this trade-off is the same thing that's happening on the director, where you have one 4K record and then lower. Same thing here. You can have one 4K at 60, which is going to get you up to 36 megabits, but you have 120 megabits total. And if I have it set to 80, I'm going to get there really fast. Got it. So it is, again, a trade-off. Scrolling ahead a little bit. I couldn't see live comments on the web UI because I don't have any live comments because neither of them are streaming right now. If Magewell came out with a director with mixed SDI and HDMI inputs, I'd have a hard time resisting the urge to buy one. Did you know that Magewell makes a SDI to USB converter? And that will give you at least 2 SDI inputs in, well, if you get 2 of these. This will give you 2 SDI and loop-through inputs into your director, even the director mini, because this is not HD. This is not 4K, I'm sorry. This is HD, but it's not 4K because you're not going to do 4K over the SDI. And that will give you exactly what you're looking for with whichever Director Mini you want to buy. Director Mini, Director Plus, Director 1. So that is available also from Magewell, giving you a single place to go for support if you ever have a problem. They love that suggestion of the audio tabs moving. I saw them respond to you. Yes, I have these ideas. You know, no company has ever actually brought me in at the development stage. I wish someone would. Rode hasn't even brought me in at the review stage. I can't get them to respond to me to get a review unit. But I've been doing production for 30 years, so I have experience and I have good ideas that can make these products better for lots of people. I mean, even Switcher Studio, people who use Switcher Studio, which is an iPad app to do live switching, when I first started using it, you couldn't even like switch back and forth. Every time you put something in preview and then hit go, it went to program and preview was empty. And then you had to put something else in preview and then say go. So if you wanted to keep switching, it was like, it was a triangle. I says, no, whatever you switch to program should go to preview. That's how it should be. That's how it's been for decades. The app needs to do that because that's what people are going to expect. And they made that happen. So I have good ideas sometimes. I really hope they send the audio meter rearrange out as an update. Fingers crossed. I think that, the rearrange would make it easier so that everything is there centered in front of you, or perhaps being able to tell the director. Now look at this. If you go into the director, and here was my other idea that I gave them. I said, listen, if I go into an input, look, here's all my cameras, right? Here's my cameras, and my tail 2 died. My tail 2, which is plugged in, is saying the battery is dead. Oh well, oh bye-bye. So I've got this nice no signal. Okay, I've got HDMI 2. If I'm not using the audio from HDMI 2 and I go into edit this, over here on the left, right here is an audio control, right? And I can click on that and adjust that audio for this thing. Just being able to disable the audio for that input. Just, you don't even have to think about it, ever. I'm not saying change the order where it's still processing, like in the show that I did with the 16 inputs, I had 25 faders all the way down. I'm saying if we turn those faders off, it's less that the device actually has to think about. Whereas if you just change the order, it still has to think about all 25 faders. It still has to draw all 25 faders. It's just they're just turned off. I'm saying it would be really cool if you come into the settings for that channel and there's like another thing over here where you just audio off, or there's like just right here a little toggle where there's a line through it, and then if you tap it and it says turn on. Okay, I'll turn the audio on for this channel. And now, boop, it pops up in the audio fader list. That was the other idea I proposed to them. I will say Magewell has a very good support ticket system. I've sent in, I think, a dozen support tickets after the live shows that I've done with their product. And all of them have been touched at this point. Some of them have been like, well, we're going to forward this forward. This is a great idea. This is over here. They've answered different questions, and they've been a great job. Any chance you can bring your website up in the app menu and check the web control page for what's eating Gilbert? I don't know what that is. $720p, can you please check the Director Plus? Yes, I can. So we're going to bring up the, oh, you're looking at it already. Good. So we're going to go to our settings. We're going to go to encode. We're going to add an encoder. We're going to not program. We're going to say it's going to be program. But we want H.264. Oh, it doesn't have 720p. Look at that. Interesting. It does not have 720p. You can go to baseline, VBR, CBR, color space, key intervals. You can get pretty detailed, but you can't get down to 720p. Very interesting. Let me try something else. I'm actually going to exit this show. I'm going to go to the default show. Doesn't feel much different. Make sure I'm in the default show. So this show is 1920 by 1080. But now I want to go into the encode settings and see if 1080 or 540. So now that I'm in a 1080 show, it allows me to do a standard definition resolution. But 720 appears to not be available in any of these things. I wonder, let me try one more thing. This is why we do this live. Thank you all for being there for a live show. This is why we do this live. I'm going to add a new show. Create a show. 1080p, 1440p. Nope, you cannot get there this way either. I thought maybe 720 might be here in creating a new show. It might give the 720p option, but I guess 720p is not an option on the director apparently at all. So let me go back into my big 4K show. Boom, 4K. Done. Tempra iPhone. Tempra. I don't know. Not only do I not know what that means, I don't know what language that is. Anybody else can translate and throw it in the comments, that would be great. I've only ever had a couple of clients ask for 4K, never once for a live stream. I don't think for live streams, especially depending upon the content. Like I could see, like if you're doing the Emmys or the Oscars or something like that, you're not so much going to stream it. I mean, it's going to be produced at 4K. And then if you just put a 4K encoder and it goes out to YouTube in 4K, great. But to have a corporate meeting or outdoor concert or things like that in 4K, it's not so much about the spectacle, it's about the content. And I feel that the content, let me stop looking at that. I feel that the content is better served when delivered well. A good, crisp, beautiful 1080p production, even on a 4K screen, is going to look great. And Angus also adds, good content, good lighting, good audio, and a skilled operation wins over 4K every time. 100%. Late to the party in LaSalle, Illinois. Yes, you are. It's been over an hour. And more agreement with Angus. More agreement. 4K can win and find you where the ball is tiny, or you could zoom in further. Hockey tried, it's like the hockey puck goes so fast and everything. Is this live or a live recording? This, what you're watching, is live. This is a live show every week. But he's lagged on responding to our chats. Yes, because I'm demonstrating things. See, you are existing in time and you keep asking more questions. I'm still answering the other question from 10 minutes ago. Big lag with lots of questions. Yes, but that is great. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you asking questions. I'll skip stuff. Great show, very detailed. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And what I also do is I edit these shows down, and then they become standalone videos where I take out most of the chat and anything that's not directly related to the topic at hand, and I create a condensed version of that you can also watch. That's why recording ISOs in camera is a great feature of the Tails. Yes. I agree. And one of the things I had also talked about that I like is if you create a 4K show on the, if you create a 4K show over here, you can then bring in 4K cameras, bring in 4K from your phones. And as I showed, you can actually tell the phones to record 4K. So you're ISO recording in the phone, and then you don't have to use your ISO records in the director if you have enough storage, or thankfully, if you've got one of the newer phones with USB-C, finally, then you can hook external storage to the device itself. If it's not too prohibitively expensive these days, because we all know external storage is expensive these days. LA12 Livestream says, it has 720p if you select a 1440 show. All right, let's do it. Live show. Let's do, sorry, this one. All right, so let's go in here. We're going to create a show. It's going to be a 1440p show. We're going to create. Okay, I've got no cameras, so we'll add one camera. We'll add another camera. Add another camera. This is another key thing, another camera. You add what you want, because remember, these are scenes that you're seeing over here. These are scenes. So I'm just adding them as cameras, but on the YOLO, when you plug them in, they'll pop up automatically. As you can see, my tail 2 over here died. So it's just missing. So they will pop up automatically when you connect them. Whereas over here, it's not necessarily a source pop-up. I'm creating a multi-layered input that includes this thing. So I've got those there now. So now I want to create an encode of 720, 60 frames 720. There you go. So yes, confirmation that you can indeed get there from here. If it's a 1440p stream, you can cut it in half to 720p and get 720p 60, which I know certain TV standards still use for the higher frame rate as opposed to 1080p 30 or 1080i 30. Add. So there's that. Thank you very much, LA12 live streams, for chiming that in the comments and letting us make it part of the show. Both offer NDI, so no license to purchase? No, and not at this price. These are both $2,000 plus machines. NDI is included. And that's also NDI encode for output as well as NDI inputs. And both of these will accept full NDI from older cameras that deliver it, or if you're creating graphics on a computer or something like that, computers generally encode full NDI. So both the Extreme and the Plus will bring in full NDI. They will bring in NDI HX, and they will both encode NDI as well. I wish the director had all 4 HDMI supporting 4K, specifically for ISO recordings to get content for social media later on. Again, many cameras you're going to have can record internally, or record to a USB stick that you plug in the back. Or if it's a tail air or tail 2 camera, it's going to have internal recording. A lot of them have it. Webcams don't. So the webcams that I have are all 4K webcams. They're not going to record internally, so they're going to need to be ISO'd in the device. So if you're trying to do something with a bunch of webcams, you know, remember those can come in as 4K as well. And a webcam could be a capture card. So you can bring in 2 more. I mean, again, let's look at I'm on the wrong show. Let me exit the show here. And if we go back to here, if we go back to my show list, my 4K show, and if we come, actually two of my NDIs have died now. Oh, there's one, tail air. So the tail 2 is dead. So all of these inputs over here are 4K, including my webcams. Now, my webcam can come in 4K. So if I use a 4K USB capture, there's my 2 4K here, and here's my 2 4K here. And then if you've got a camera that does NDI, there's my 4K NDI over there. So I have 6 4K inputs into my Director Plus. 6. So yes, it does not have 4 HDMI, but you can add 2 more HDMIs right here with the USB inputs. Marcus says, hi from Germany. Good to see you. See anybody with a link to the app, please share in your email. We'll add to your tester list to add featured app purchasing it. I appreciate that. That 720p answer is why I watch closely. Thanks again. Well, I have to say thank you to viewers like you who watch and contribute as part of the show. I think that's really key, is that you have that ability to be part of these live shows. That's why I like doing these live shows. Can you chain NDI control through these devices? Not control, but you can obviously take the output of one device via NDI and send it into the other. Yes, definitely. One thing to note though is, let me go back and talk one more point about side by side. Both of these have webcams. OBSBot, as we said, is going to come out with a version of the director that has got OBSBot, happiness all over it. It has USB webcams. What it doesn't have, and has not had so far, is what YOLO has. So I have my YOLO over here, and I have my, let's see if I can find my AVCAN's Bird Dog Tail YOLO Cam USB. So if I go to my Tiny 2 USB-C, I can say camera setting. I can change the resolution that's coming in from my tiny camera. Okay, great. Let me bring just that one up. That's great. I can adjust that, the resolution of that camera. I want that to be 4K coming in. Okay, done. If I use a YOLO camera on my YOLO box, however, and I say camera setting, now color, style, sharpness, contrast, saturation, where's my autofocus going to be, what's my exposure settings, let me adjust my colorimetry, and also my resolution and other things. Upgrade the firmware. This is what I really expected to see when OBSBot first started with the director. I expected to see really deep control of the OBSBot cameras in the OBSBot Talent. And I have not seen that come to fruition. Maybe with the Talent 2, we're going to see a whole really deep integration, sort of like what YOLO has done over here, in that they really let you dial in and, you know, determine what is going to be done on these cameras. I can zoom in, 2x, whoop. I can zoom out, whoop. But the best is like the white balance, changing the white balance of the camera. How often do you need to tweak the white balance or even the colorimetry of the camera? You know, you see where I'm moving this around here? So something, you need to match your YOLO webcam to other cameras really closely. Being able to get in there and really dial those things in is going to be very, very handy. In addition to your just normal sharpness, contrast, saturation, and things like that. That's something I hope OBSBot does with the Talent 2. And, you know, as an OBSBot camera user, having that level of integration would almost make me want to have an OBSBot Talent that had 5 USBs on it, you know? Okay, 1 or 2 HDMIs, but give me a lot of USBs so that I could have a tiny 3, a tiny 2, a tiny 3, a tail 2, tail air. I can have 5 cameras all over USB and have that nuanced control that I get like in the OBSBot Center app on a computer, but have it in my tablet, so I don't even have to bring a laptop around. It's just all right there. That would be really cool. Let's see. Can you control a PTZ camera too, meaning pan and move it? Let me finish that thought with this saying, if you have webcams from YOLO, and then I have to give the prize to the YOLO Box Extreme because of this deep control of YOLO cameras. And you can have 3 cameras connected up here, 2 over A, 1 over C. So you could do a 3-camera shoot and have this detailed control all in here with a nice big screen. The thing, they don't give you multiple screens across, so you can, like, you know, adjust one against the other. But having that control is something you do have here. You do not have on this side, being able to go into the USB cameras and tweak the white balance settings and the exposure settings and things like that. You just don't have that on the Talent or the Plus, Director Plus, Talent 2 or Director Plus. You just don't have that. Maybe in the future that might happen, and I think that would be awesome. But right now, prize for that is going to go over here to the Extreme. That said, let's go to the next category. The next category, can you control a PTZ camera too? Meaning pan and move it? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you right now, that prize goes to, actually I don't have to do that. I just touch that and I get a little PTZ control here. Bring that up big. See that little plus minus? I can touch that and now I get full control. I can just zoom in on that. Whee! I can zoom back out. I can store that as 1. I can zoom this back out. I can store that as 2. And it's all automatic. It's just there because when I connected to the camera to bring it in, the director knows its IP address in order to bring the source in. It's an IP source. I know what your IP address is because I found you. You're right there. I know your address. And I bring it in. Yay. Now, if I go over to the other camera, do I have a tail to bird dog? Okay. So if I come over to the YOLO box, and let's exit this thing, go over to overlays. Here's my bird dog, and here it is. I want to do PTZ control. There's the button right there, right? PTZ control. I'm going to select it, and it's going to say, yeah, this camera that I'm already connected to and I'm already getting video from over the network. Can you tell me what the IP address of this camera is? I'm like, you're talking to it already. What are you asking me for? And this has been like this for a couple years now. I really think they just need to, like, when I connect to it, when I connect to an NDI camera, waiting. Look what it's showing right there. 192.168.55. It has the IP address already. Why can't it just fill in its own blank? So, yes, you can once you do this. So, for now, controlling NDI or IP cameras, the prize is going to go to the Talent 2 and the Director Plus, because that is just, it just happens. It just works. So you can pan, move, and if it's certain cameras, you can autofocus, you can store presets, go back to 1, go back to 2, turn on human tracking. Yay, you can do all those cool things. Okay, done. UVC control. Yes, wondering if that can be an approved app for D+. That would be cool. It would be nice to just have it here in the interface and not have to exit the app, you know, because thus far, I mean, one key thing is you don't have access to those other apps via the web control. You only have them on the director. And if you're leaving the show to go tweak a camera, you're not paying attention to the show. That's why distributing audio and distributing graphics and scoreboard to other people, the person who's doing the show is on the director, has direct control of the show. You don't want to now leave the show and go fiddle with a camera. So it would be, you know, I don't want to leave the app. I want to stay in the app. You know what I mean? And they define format must be, yep, that has to be done. There have been promo backups for broadcasts. Busy just work just in case. And this is the last comment I've got. Just an add to the PTZ control in Director Plus. If you touch the picture and call up the control, it just does not take the camera, but lets you control PTZ function before you take the camera. Yes. Okay, that right there is going to bring up something that I have been asking Magewell to do for a while. And it's actually going to mean I'm going to give a new award, or a prize here, and it's going to go to the YOLO box. So let's go to the overhead. So with this, with the directors, you can do a preview program kind of thing. You come in here, you go to switch settings, you turn off quick switch. So now when I touch something, this is no longer program, which is as confusing as hell. This little screen is program. This is preview. So yes, as what he's saying is you can go into a preview program mode and then go into your PTZ settings. So let me cut to this and we'll do it in reverse. So when I cut, nothing happens, which is really weird. So I'm going to come over here, preview, weird. Then I can come over here. I can say, go to my second preset. So I'm still in preview. I'm not looking at what the actual program is, which I think is wrong. Close that. Then I can cut to this. And now it's program. Okay. I've asked them about this numerous times. It's still this way. I said, what would be nice is if I have the tail air and I have presets set, just keep this as program, put 3 little dots, little bumps on the top of that box there. So I can, like, I go to preview. You see how there's little overlays over that now? Give me 3 bumps for the 3 presets. I tap the preset and then I can see the preview change. That little box down there, I can see that change. Program hasn't changed. Preview has. So I think this is backwards, and I would like to see the presets, if there are any saved, just the 1, 2, and 3 appear right there. That is what I have suggested. Has not happened. Over here on the Extreme, you can go into here and go into a preview program mode. So you can go to something over here, do whatever you need to it, and then cut it. And of course it flips back. That is more right. Again, you still have the PTZ issue. But that is program is always program. And then I go over here, cut back, here, and go to this one, cut, program. See where it says program? This, unless you make that change, the quick switch, this is always program. But then when you go into the quick switch, this is not always program. This can be preview or program, which is just way too confusing to get into. I think this is done wrong. The award for switching preview program goes to the YOLO box, because this, making use of the additional screen real estate they have, yes, I guess it's a gimme, but the program window is always the program window. Making it so the main window is not always program, but sometimes is, but sometimes isn't, is the wrong way to do it. My humble opinion, wrong way to do it. And I've suggested to them a better way to do it. That hasn't happened. Cut. So let me go back in here, turn back to quick switch before it drives me nuts. Can any PTZ camera work with Ethernet, work with Google Home Mesh system? Okay, you see, I have a gaming router set up here. This router was several $100s for this one router. Now, it's an Asus router, and Asus does have mesh. They do have the ability to mesh their devices. I actually have one. Asus has a whole line of routers. This is one of their nodes, and this one I've called Master because I've set this one up with another one that is the Sub Master. This is the master, that's the Sub Master. I don't want to use the other word. So this one and that one work together. So video going into that one will wirelessly be shot over here over one of the two 5 gigahertz channels. That has worked. I've done 4 channels of NDI over this for an event I did for a client, and that went into a TriCaster. Worked great, no wires. Between the room where they were with one of these and the room where I was with one of these, and it was a live wireless shot between them. That said, I have an Eero Pro 6, Eero Pro 6 with 6 gigahertz in my office. That was what the internet provider provided, and it's Pro, right? And it's got 2.5 gigabit on the back. Yay, right? It's the best. I get 2 NDI streams, and then it just starts dropping things like crap. So not all wireless is created equal, which is why I took the hours of time to rebuild the network for this test around this and a 2.5 gigabit switch, because I wanted to make sure that anything I brought in NDI in today's show would not be held back by the network. I didn't just use the Eero Pro. In fact, I would never use the Eero Pro to do a show. I brought this one out and I actually put it on a pedestal so you could see it. And it's all wired. Oh, you can't really see it with the... And the wires are blue too, so go figure. So no, I would not say the Google Home Mesh system would be something to use. No. Any PTZ camera work with Ethernet? No, because you can get a full NDI camera or 2, and they will overwhelm a lesser network quickly. You can get like a tail air or a Mevo start, or 4 Mevo starts at 5 megabits NDI, and you might be fine. Maybe. I don't know. You know, any PTZ camera. All these PTZ cameras, you set the data rate, and you may set the data rate too high for that home router, that home mesh system, to be able to effectively handle it. This is a variable, this is a variable, this is a variable, and you're asking a question with 3 unknowns. Can we? The answer is going to be no. Turn that off, hold down finger on the controls. Come up does not switch off when shutting controls for cam. So you have PTZ control in preview on the extreme. Again, I can't demonstrate this because I don't have PTZ control of anything right now because I don't have the IP address of the camera that is already connected to. If you give me a minute, I can try to find the IP address of that camera on the network. Actually, let me look over here. I am going to use Studio Monitor. And yes, what is the IP address of this camera? 5165. Let's go and see if we can do this. PTZ control. We're over here. 192.168. 50.165. Again, this is something I think no one should have to do because it should just be automatically entered when you connect it to the camera. So here, now I have PTZ control of that camera. So let me go back out, and if I can put that camera, you have PTZ control of that camera anytime. So I could click on this, PTZ control. Why are you asking me again? Oh my goodness. And I can tilt up. Well, this one is a box camera, so all I can really do is zoom in and zoom out. I'm trying to zoom in. Wow. Okay. There's a little bit of a lag time. Let's look at the overhead. Okay, ready? Tilt down. Oh, okay, that's a little better. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give it to the Magewell for this. Let me zoom out. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a no. So technically, the answer is yes. But preview program, win. PTZ control, the director wins. So pick your poison. Boo-ba-doo-boo. All right. So overall, between these two devices, which one would you choose? Which one wins? Which one wins? Do you need a big screen? This one. Do you need PTZ control? This one. Do you want Wi-Fi, 8 cameras that you can fully control the camera from the device? This one. Do you need remote guests? This one. Do you want batteries that you can change forever? This one. Do you want physical hardware inputs, 5 physical HDMI, and not have to worry about dongles or anything? This one. Do you want nice big antennas that you can actually easily change with standard SMA connectors on the top? This one. Do you want a 2.5 gigabit port? This one. Do you want a 1 gigabit port? This one. Do you want a bigger display? This one. Do you want a darker display because, lower? This one. Do you want API control? This one. Do you want Bluetooth control? This one. Do you want web, being able to access it from anywhere on the planet? This one. So there's a lot of features that these two have that are different from each other. And that, to me, means as always, figure out what you need. Make your list. Then put it in order. I gotta have this. It has to have 5 inputs, or I have to have remote guests, or I want to do everything mobile with phones and the external antennas and not carry anything. You know, put those down, what you need. That will tell you which one wins for you. YOLOBox is missing one function, namely the position settings, which will cause the motion to actually be triggered after selecting the next copy of the same camera. Yeah, those, like, I'm able to connect to that NDI camera. I'm able to move it around, but there's no saved positions. And the key thing is, remember, these are NDI cameras, and those position settings are saved in the camera. So they're available from anything that has access to that camera. And to show that off, let's go over here to this one, and I should be able to say go to 1. I didn't save anything on that one. Let's go to, what was the one that I had saved the presets on? Oh, it was the tail air. All right, so I can go to 1. Whoops. Hang on. Apparently the mic is on. And then I can go to 2. Remember in the beginning of the show, I set those 2 presets, and I set those presets from the director? I'm accessing those same 2 presets, which are stored in the camera, from a laptop now. So you can distribute those tasks. And go back to 1, go back to 2. I can create a 3rd preset. I can save a new 3rd preset on the laptop, and it'll be available in the director. So again, PTZ control, absolute win on the director. Absolute win on the director. How much has the software been updated for the 2 platforms? Magewell has updated the director line continuously since the original Director Mini has been introduced. And YOLO has updated almost all of their devices continuously since they were introduced. The vertical one, the InStream, it's been 2.5 years since that one has seen an update. But as of last year, they were still updating the Pro, which was 5 years old. So let me close this camera, because it's echoing in my ear and it's really hard to deal with. So the support for these devices from the 2 companies, I would say, is on par. I would give that to both of them. They both support their devices and release updates and everything. I would say Magewell releases updates less frequently, but they are tested more thoroughly before release. YOLO gets them out faster, and then there have been instances where they released an update and then have to release an update to the update to fix something. But they both are supported over for years. Razor Bay Media. It just means that we need both of them to do any work. Hopefully we don't need both of them, but not at those prices, as you say in the comments. One person replies, I cannot justify the big investment for the same size screen as the Director Plus. I love the D1, but need to be able to see. Extreme for me. Except, one thing you may not have noticed is that, I'm tapping. Over here, I'm just going to bring that up. Okay, let's leave it over there. Over here, if I come down to my controls, over here on the bottom, it has USB out. On the original Director Mini, You can use one USB-C cable and you have this entire interface on whatever size USB touchscreen you want. Some people have got a 7-inch, some people got an 11-inch, some people got a 15-inch. There's been a lot of discussion about that in the Magewell group. When Magewell came out with the Director 1, which I would have called the Plus because it was the Mini plus a few features, they actually separated it out. And video was out the HDMI and control was on USB-C. So then you had to run 2 cables. This one, it looks like video is again out USB. So you can again do one USB cable to a 15-inch monitor if you don't like the tiny 11-inch version from YOLO. 11 inches is too tiny. Well, get a 15-inch touchscreen, connect your single USB out cable, and then you will have both touch and your big display, super big display on the Director. I would have just called this the Director. And then the Director 1 or the Director Plus would have been the Mini plus extra features, and then you got the Mini. Mini plus, and then the Director. But I don't name them. I just use them. A YOLO box has always had stability issues. The device is a talent. I have never let me down. All YOLO box editions still have some software issues. And as Razor Baby Media Creation says, it really depends on your gig needs. Well, see, that's the trouble. If you're building for a certain situation, if you're a church and you're getting something for your church, the gig is Surface. That's what it's going to do. And you can build around that. You can pick your device based on what you need it to do, right? Or if you want to do like a little podcast thing, you want to bring in remote guests and you get the Extreme, that's going to be its thing. But if you're doing a different gig every week and it's got to do different things, it makes it really hard to pick the right device. So that's why you got to like really determine those priorities and pick which one, because yes, as has been mentioned in the comments, these are several $1,000s each US. They're expensive around the world. They are the cost that they are because they are serious all-in-one production machines. And it's hard to say one of these is going to cover every gig because it won't, Oh, I want to do remote guests, but I bought the Director Plus and now it doesn't have a remote guest feature. You can kludge it with a bunch of Zoom laptops and whatever. You can get around it, but it's not a built-in feature, and it would have been so much easier if you had the Extreme. But if you have a one-camera production, both are great. That's true. Very, very great. Marutz says, stability and reliability, the talent always wins because unfortunately YOLO Box keeps changing something and constantly crashes. Stability of YOLO Box always loses the talent. There are people using the YOLO boxes. Again, that is his assessment. There are people using the YOLO boxes every day and delivering content every day around the world. And there are people using Magewell Directors around the world every day. I will say that when I started this channel and I moved and I left YOLO, because I used to produce the same weekly show for YOLO, and I did it on a YOLO box for multiple years. When at that time the YOLO Box Pro was the top machine, I made a choice. It was like, okay, I'm going to do my own show. Do I do it on the YOLO Box Pro, or is there something that can do it better at this time? And at that time, the box that did it better, the week I made that choice, was the Director Mini. And I have been producing my shows on the Director Mini ever since. That is not to say that the Ultra or the Extreme could do this show. They could. They have gotten far more powerful and more capable and more reliable than the Pro. able to do 4K, able to handle more frame rates, able to do 2 different encodes, a higher, higher quality save than what I'm, sending out as a stream. There's a lot of different things. And I have done some of these shows on YOLO boxes because I wanted to demonstrate certain features that the YOLO boxes have that just don't exist on the Director ecosystem. So it's not to say that one is hands down better than the other. I myself have moved between the different machines. I have the luxury of having this channel, which gives me access to the different machines. And so I can use them on other productions and then report back here on the channel my experiences using them in other cases. I'm just waiting for the comment again. Do churches and funerals need a small form factor? And that's why the Director Plus wins for me. Again, yes, the Director Plus, they chose to stay with the 7-inch screen. They did that for a reason. And they feel that the market is there for capabilities with the smaller size. The Director Plus is going to be smaller and lighter than even the YOLO Box Ultra. The Ultra will be thinner, but it's got the battery built into it, and it's got the, they both have 4 HDMI inputs. The Ultra is going to have more 4K, but if you don't need all of that 4K, that's sort of like, when I did this show, I was kind of like wondering, do I do the 4K Ultra versus the 4K Director Plus or the Extreme? And I actually felt, because of the IP sources, the Ultra is more limited in terms of 3 NDI HX sources. And it's clear that the Director with 10 IP sources, they're whole different classes. So I felt for this show that in order to level the playing field, it had to be Extreme versus the Director Plus. That also meant tipping the scale to the fact that it's got 8 HDMI inputs. So I tried to put the balance where I could. They're different things. They have different weights. And I tried to, do this show as balanced as I could. That's why I went to the whole networking challenge and set up 15 cameras for this show for you. I clicked on the button. I have a YOLO Box Ultra and Extreme, and even Inseam. And the biggest problem of YOLO Box is stability and constantly releasing unfinished software and treating users like guinea pigs. Talent wins. Again, an end user, that was his comment before. I have used the YOLO Box, and there are people out there producing content on the YOLO Box. He obviously has some good experience with the YOLO Box, with the Ultra, with the Extreme, and the one I mentioned, the InStream, which hasn't been updated in a couple years and is really overdue for some updates. I think there's something to be said, though, that YOLO keeps updating those devices. Even years old, they still keep updating those devices, and that also has value. I remember when I started using the YOLO Box Pro, the very basic Pro at this point, and the Pro could not actually mix 2 different channels of audio. It did not have remote guests. It did not have a whole bunch of features that are in the Pro now. It did not have NDI. It did not have the ability to connect to the YOLO deck. It did not have. And what these devices will be is different than they are today. But that said, make your purchasing choice based on what it does today, what it does reliably right now. Don't ever buy something on a hope or someone said it would, which is why I'm always very hesitant to talk about what things might be in the future. I tell them I wish they could do, but not, I think this is going to happen. I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm not on the engineering teams of any of these people. I put in support tickets just as you would, and to either of these companies, my support tickets have no greater weight than yours. And I feel that, purchasing these devices, either one, whichever device you pick, is going to have to come down to you making a judgment choice based on the features you need, the capabilities you need, and which one delivers them reliably right now. Never buy something based on speculation or promise or what you think. Oh, I thought it could do this. Well, where did you think that? Did you read that? Is it on the specification sheet? Is it listed as a specific feature? If it's not, then it's not really there. It's one of the things, and I'm going to, poke at another company, Osee, on their website. Let's go to the Osee website right now. Osee makes what? Oh, it helps if I can spell. Osee makes the Duet. Don't delete the whole thing. And they make some great mixers. The Duet 8 is a fantastic mixer. I've done a show here on the Duet 8, and it is a great mixer. And, people call it an ATEM killer. I mean, just the fact that the menu for controlling different things is built in and you can use it without having to attach a computer is fantastic. And then they went after the fact. This was not there when they shipped it. When they shipped it, 1, 2, 3, and 4 were either HDMI or SDI. And then the second 4 were NDI or some, USB camera or something like that. You couldn't do all 8 inputs. And people bought it complaining, thinking it was an 8-input switcher, using all of the 8 hardware inputs. And Osee managed to update the switcher so that you could use all 8 of the hardware inputs. Kudos to them for that. But when you come down here and it says you can invite remote guests worldwide, this strongly implies that Dr. Marquez in Texas will come into your show, SRT or RTMP, he will come into your show and he will also receive a copy of your show so that he could have, as a remote guest, Zoom call does, a conversation. That's actually not possible because you would need WebRTC to do that. He would need to receive a copy of the program from the switcher with mix minus, so he's not hearing himself. The remote guest feature you have in the YOLO box is all of that. Somebody can call in, they get a copy of the show, they're able to talk, they're able to hear, they don't hear themselves with an echo. It all works. This switcher, you cannot invite remote guests worldwide into the switcher and have them also hear the program. So this is something I say you have to really be careful when purchasing something and you see something proffered to make sure that it does what you think. Now, 4 SRT feeds in, that's great. I can see what they're sending. But how do I get it back to them? Then I have to send an SRT back, but then they're hearing themselves. That's a whole issue. So you're not going to do remote guests with the Duet 8. So kudos to them for updating it, but I really think they need to tweak the marketing a little bit and make it clear that this remote guests is not a bi-directional connection directly into the mixer like it is on the YOLO box. When you invite remote guests into the YOLO box and you come over here and say you want to add remote guests, those people that you add down at the bottom, they have their own connection. They are coming directly into the box from a web browser, their phone, whatever. They come into this, they get the program and the audio back to them. There's nothing else. It's done. It's that is remote guests. That is invite remote guests to participate in your program. That is for real. And that is something that you're not going to find in any director and any talent or in the Osee switcher. So Those are things to be aware of when you're buying something, is to make sure that it does those features that you really need it to do. And I have used the remote guest feature in this, and with the pre-built stuff, I was like, they nailed it. They nailed it. All right, I think that has pretty much wrapped things up. I started here at what, 11 o'clock? It's now 1:46, so I have talked for almost 3 hours. And I apologize if I talked anybody's ear off, but I hope today's show has been informative, as always. I do appreciate the one person who threw me a super chat. I'm actually going to put them back up on the screen because I really appreciated somebody saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw you a coffee. And I appreciate that, just because, you know, the YouTube, it's not what you think it is. I'm not Mr. Beast. I'm not Marquez Brownlee. I'm not Linus Tech Tips. They make what they make, and they're fantastic, and I watch all of them. But, you know, thank all of you for being here as part of this journey and for today's show. And I will look forward to doing next week's show. What would next week's show be on? I don't know yet. I'm not even going to try to hint at it. But I do appreciate all of you being here. And till next time, I always say, thanks for watching.